How about when you're in a match and none of the things that you do work? What do you do then? There are like, give or take, on the top of my head, there's around 3 reasons why the things that you do don't work against the opponent you're playing. The first reason is your opponent's better than you. And that could happen. And given the environment we're in, or at least our region, the Philippines, Manila, you'll find above average players, threat level players, top players from Mindanao, Visayas, Luzon, and they're just gonna outplay you, regardless of what you do. Or there'll be days where you're just off. But of course, an off day is completely different. But A is definitely the players just outmatches you. He outplays you, he knows everything, he knows it way more. He's adapting far faster than you, reading you far faster, 2 or 3 steps ahead of you typically. So regardless of what you do, you can put up a really good fight, but he's gonna own the set. He's gonna own like the whole set. He's gonna have a higher score basically, and there's gonna be a huge clear gap between you and him. And you're obviously gonna feel it if the stuff you're doing doesn't work. And he recognizes each and every situation and uses it against you. Or exploits a weakness from you non-stop over and over again. So that's A, right? The player's clearly better than you. B is that your opponent sees it. Regardless of how good they are, they what you're doing is obvious. So let's say we go back to the FF3 down 3-4 RFS D4 situation over and over again, right? Let's say, again, for 3 games straight, you've done this FF3 down 3-4 RFS D4 flowchart over and over again. And you've tried mixing it up, down 3-4, FF3, DF1, out. FF3, down 3-4, 1. Out, right? So, let's say of course you tried to mix it up and whatnot, and you're not getting a lot of reward out of it. Because the reward for Hwoarang is getting a counter hit of RFS DF4, or getting you to hesitate so you can do another down 3-4, or the Hell Sweep, right? But you only did down 3-4 RFS DF4, and down 3-4 RFS 1. And FF3 after DF1. Let's say that was like the mix-up you added. Your opponent noticed that you were going to just check. Because all of those options right there, FF3 to DF1's a check. That's a mid-check. Nothing to it. That's just a mid-check. It doesn't really do anything. FF3 to RF, down 3-4, RFS DF4, that's a mid-check. A high reward mid-check. FF3 down 3-4 to RFS 1, that's a low reward mid-check. With far less risk compared to RFS DF4. Yes. So that's B, and that's quite obvious. So if your opponent says, oh, he's just gonna keep going for a mid-check. So even if, let's say, I eat the down 3-4, and he does RFS 1, I'm +2 now. Assuming they know the frame data or not. They know that they can interrupt you and challenge that situation now. They're gonna try to own the situation right after RFS DF4, RFS 1, or DF1 on block has happened. And they'll just let the whole thing go because it honestly doesn't do much. So, of course, that's an extreme example. There could be other examples that could far get the definition and clarity of point B, which is what you're doing is too obvious. And C is they're not allowing you to do what you want to do. So let's say what you wanted to do, right, is to enforce Hwoarang's mix-up game. Specifically 1-2-4 RFS 4. This very cheesy, super cheesy mix-up, right? Let's say you wanted to really run this. And you wanted to know when they down jab, right? So let's say the first time you do it, 1-2-4 RFS F4. After the first RFS F4, they down jab. You're like, okay. 1-2-4 RFS F4, up forward 4 now, right? Because after the first RFS F4, they're gonna down jab. But they don't. So in a sense, they're not allowing it to happen. And then the next time you do 1-2-4, since you're always trying to force RFS F4, is that they down jab you immediately. So now they've mixed up your own timing, because now the next thing you're gonna do is like, okay, so he sped up his down jab earlier, right? So I'm gonna do 1-2-4 RFS up forward 4, but they still block that. And now you're -13, and since this is Marduk, that's a simple upward 1-2. Of course, another way of them preventing you from doing what you want to do, let's say again you want to start Hwoarang mix-ups, is that they attack you immediately. They don't give you the breathing room, they don't give you the space, they always take their turn, always interrupt you, and get out of your range, clearly. Most especially since Hwoarang needs to be in close range most of the time. That's like 3 things. A, they're better than you. B, it's too obvious. C, they're preventing you from doing it ever. And sometimes it's a mix of A, B, or C together. It could be a various combination of the three. Like, it could be a combination of A and B, wherein A, you guys are of equal level of skill, but he's only just slightly better than you. And what you're doing is obvious. Or it could be a combination of C and B, wherein what you're doing is obvious and he just straight out refuses to give it to you over and over again. Whether that be by mixing up his defensive timing to screw up your timing, or to just flat out not allow your character to do it at all. It could be like that. Or it could be C and A. Because a player who's better than you, they could choose in many, many ways how to prevent you from, from basically just outplaying you or shutting you down. B and C is like typical counter options. Yeah, and I've run those counter options as well. Like, okay, what he's doing is too obvious, or I need to prevent him from doing that, whether it be this way or that way. Then A is just like, there's a clear gap and you can literally read your opponent in and out. But it doesn't mean it doesn't happen within players of similar skill. A, like the A. Because that could be also experience. Like, this player has more experience than you, even if you guys are of similar skill. So he uses that experience that he has to get an edge over you. So I'll tell you when I'm buffering. I'm buffering, dash forward 3+4, buffering forward 3+4. That's the important part. And of course, the Hwoarang Discord has a fax on this, a frequently asked questions. I could always just copy paste it and put it here.